Municipal Water District. Before we go ahead and get started this morning, I wanted to go ahead and welcome our newest board member, Laura Roughton. Congratulations on your appointment, madam. We appreciate you and we look forward to working with you, and welcome to Western Municipal Water District.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Great. At this time, we'll go ahead and go forward with the roll call, please.
Thank you. Good morning. In an effort to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually. The public may also attend in person. However, all unvaccinated persons must wear a mask while indoors. This meeting is live streamed online at WesternMWD.com. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may make comments virtually or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. August 31st, 2021 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom virtual meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. You can access the raise hand feature by opening the participant list and clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the list. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. Phone callers can also press *9 to activate the raise hand feature. If there's more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you will be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Roughton.
Here.
Director Rizvi.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Director Gardner.
Here.
Director Torres.
Here.
Thank you. President Dinstedt.
I am present. Good morning.
Good morning, President Dinstedt. You do have a quorum today.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have it recorded by one of our staff members. Sonia Huff. Great. Thank you so much. If you could please stand and join us.
I'm Sonia Huff. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I certainly have really enjoyed our staff coming forward and leading us in the pledge at these meetings, and Sonia comes from our engineering department, so we appreciate her participation in this newly found venture that we've launched into, and
It certainly worked very well in Zoom.
Yes.
And as we go hybrid, it still works, and we'll have to think about that in the long term, how we're going to do that, if we come all back in person again.
And I would love to see our employees be willing to step forward and lead us in the pledge in person if we ever get to that point. So thank you very much. Okay, moving right along to our next item on the agenda today is public comment. This is for any member of the public who wishes to comment on any item which is not currently posted on our agenda, which is under the jurisdiction of this agency to act upon. Madam Secretary, is there anyone today who wishes to speak under public comment?
Yes, Madam President, I see Patrick O'Dowd.
Okay. Mr. O'Dowd?
Mr. O'Dowd, you may go ahead.
Good morning, Madam President. First of all, I see my friend Kathy Green here too. Good morning, Kathy. And thank you all for inviting me to speak today. My name is Patrick O'Dowd, and I am a candidate for Vice President for the Association of California Water Agencies. It's been my pleasure to serve on the Region 9 board for the last 6 years as both chair and vice chair, representing Region 9 as a statewide, in the statewide office. Together, working with Region 9, we worked on issues in Riverside, Imperial, San Bernardino counties, addressing opportunities and challenges from Riverside to Blythe, from Calexico to Mojave. Working together with Western on Region 9 events throughout the region and at the conference. Thank you for allowing me to serve on Aqua's statewide board in your region, twice as Region 9 chair and once as Region 9 vice chair, where I continued until I was appointed Aqua's federal affairs chair. I provided you some information earlier, which I've hoped you've had an opportunity to review. And lastly, I'd like to say that my opportunity to serve on the statewide board of Aqua allows a leadership team which will be diverse in nature. Aqua has always emphasized both the agricultural components of California water and the urban components of California water. Aqua's statewide leadership is comprised essentially of 3 elected offices, the president and vice president, and by virtue of the prior election cycle, the immediate past president. My election to the board will allow representation, notwithstanding the fact that as a CVWD director, I represented the urbanmost part of the CVWD service area. My constituents include both urban and agriculture, include some of the highest priority water rights users on the Colorado River and state water project in the Central Valley. I've also been a member of Aqua's Disadvantaged Community Task Force since its inception, and working on it both in the Coachella Valley and in the Central Valley is going to be an important part of addressing water security statewide. Madam President, that's all I have to share this morning. I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you, Mr. O'Dowd. We appreciate your attendance today and your public comment. Madam Secretary, was there anybody else who wishes to speak on any item which is not currently posted on our agenda today?
I see Kathy Green's hand raised.
Okay, Ms. Green, did you want to speak during public comment, ma'am, or would you like to speak under 7A's item as Mr. O'Dowd could have?
I would like to speak under 7A, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other members on the telephone who wishes to comment publicly today under public comment? Do we see any raised hands? I can't scroll through the screen up here.
I see none at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close public comment.
Director Denstedt?
Yes.
I did also receive 17 written comments that were identical emails that were sent to the Board of Directors yesterday after the 4:30 deadline, in addition to one additional comment by Felix Soria, and those have been provided to the Board of Directors.
Thank you very much.
Could
Moving on
we,
to our consent calendar.
Madam President.
Madam President?
Hello, is there
I'm sorry,
someone else
can
who
you
would
hear
wish
me?
to speak?
Yes, please.
And can you identify yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you identify
I'm sorry,
yourself?
I was hitting *7 and *6. Good morning. This is Kathy Teagues.
Kathy
Good
Teagues.
morning. Thank you. Go
Madam
right
President,
ahead.
if I may, thank you very much. Kathy Teagues, for those of you that may not know me, I served on the board at Cucamonga Valley Water District, the other CVWD, as Mr. O'Dowd refers to it, and also am a past president of the Association of California Water Agencies. I first would just like to say congratulations to Director Roughton. Very impressed with your resume and your engagement and involvement in water. And I think you'll be an incredibly dynamic member of the Western team and the Western Board of Directors. So heartfelt congratulations to you. Looking forward to seeing you at future water conferences when we do get back in person. Also, at this time, I'd like to comment on 7A, which is the election of the vice president, or the candidacy of the vice president for Aqua. I would like to highly encourage your consideration of Kathy Green. I think she will be a dynamic member of Aqua, which she has been, but also in that role, I believe that she and the incoming president will do their best to return Aqua to what Aqua is intended to be, which is a representative of all of its 460 members throughout the state of California, not just special interests that are trying to drive particular projects. So again, I would ask your serious consideration when you do come to that item on your agenda. And with that, Madam President, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Teagues. We appreciate your comments today. Okay, moving on to our consent calendar, folks. Is there, I understand staff wishes to pull item 5C. Is that correct? It's not ready?
That is correct, President Enstead. We are still researching that, so we would like some more time to do that. There's no urgency on this item, so we'll
Okay.
bring it back to a future board meeting.
Thank you. And
I would like to pull item 5B. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Oh, I was reading, I meant 5C, so it sounds like it's already been pulled. Sorry.
yeah, yes, it's already been
No.
It's already been pulled, and staff is asking to continue it. They wanted more time to research a couple of items on there. Okay, any other comments on the balance? Any public comments or polls request from members of the public?
I see none.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the consent calendar, but for item 7C.
5C.
I'll second
I'm
it.
sorry, 5C.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres? Director Torres? Director Denstedt?
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
thank you. Moving on, Mr. Miller or Mr. Foray, is there any items to be added to our agenda under item 6?
Nothing to add today.
Nothing to add.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate that. Moving on to our action agenda on 7, we'll start off with 7A. Could we go ahead and get a staff report on this, please?
Certainly. So item 7A is Resolution 3189, supporting Orange County Water District's first Vice President, Kathy Green, as a candidate for the office of Vice President at the Association of California Water Agencies. We were contacted by Orange County Water District some time ago, saying that their director, Director Green, was running for that position. We brought that to our ComGov committee and had a discussion at the ComGov committee that the ComGov committee recommended a support position. And with that, that's all the report that I have today, and I'll open it up to you, Madam President, for the discussion.
Thank you very much. Okay, I understand we did have one public comment under this item. We'll go ahead and take public comment at this time.
Thank you. I'll call Kathy Green.
Yes. Thank you for providing me this opportunity to speak with you as a candidate for Aqua Vice President. I'm grateful for our partnership with Western on SAPA and SARCUP. Hopefully you've had a chance to read and review the materials I sent you, summarizing my Aqua City Council community leadership and service. I've also served multiple times as president and vice president of the Orange County Water District, where I have been elected 3 times by the public. Additionally, all 9 of my fellow Orange County Water District board members unanimously nominated me for Aqua Vice President, and thus far, over 30 Aqua members statewide have endorsed me, including several from Region 9. Such as IEUA, 29 Palms, Joshua Basin, Monte Vista, San Gorgonio Pass, Elsinore Valley, and SAPA. My vision for Aqua is to embrace its motto established in 2016, bringing water together, which for me is about unifying Aqua members and working collaboratively with diverse stakeholders to advocate for smart solutions to our water challenges. Listening, learning, and working together to address member suggestions will be a priority for me. To best serve you, I have the time and commitment to dedicate to the Aqua VP role so that together we can advance Aqua and solidify its position as the nation's top coalition of public water agencies. My mission will be to ensure all Aqua members have a voice. It would be a privilege to serve you as your Aqua Vice President and continue my collaboration with Pam Tobin, who is running for Aqua President, on elevating Aqua as an organization that serves all members with equal representation. I look forward to connecting with each of you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have for me now or in the future. I hope to receive your support of my candidacy and your vote. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Green. We certainly appreciate your attendance today. Okay, I will bring it back up to the board for discussion. Is there any members who have any comments? Director Risby?
I'm good. We discussed it in the committee, so I will, if there's no discussion, then I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from any other directors? Director Roughton? Okay. Director Torres? Director Gardner?
No, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 3189, approving, supporting Director Kathy Green for Aqua Vice President. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and please call for the vote?
Yes, thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Risby?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Congratulations and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and continue on to 7B. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Item 7B, this is the consideration of adoption of a resolution 3188, authorizing Western Municipal Water District to participate in the California Water and Wastewater Arrearage Payment Program. Kevin?
Great, thank you. Good morning, Board of Directors and members of the public. As Craig mentioned, this item is recommending that the board adopt Resolution 3188. Funding for the state program is for reducing delinquent water and wastewater balances for customers experiencing financial hardships related to the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. This program, administered by the State Water Resources Control Board, is expected to distribute about $1 billion in funding from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Water and sewer agencies from across the state will be eligible to submit their customer past due or arrearages amounts accumulated from March 4th, 2020 through June 15th, 2021 to the State Water Resources Control Board, also known as the State Water Board. In November of 2020, the State Water Board conducted a survey of public water agencies to estimate how much was past due from customers. The results indicated over $1 billion in past due water balances from the agencies surveyed at that time. This is back in November. It's very likely that that amount is much higher now. With a moratorium on water shutoffs being potentially lifted on September 30th, assistance from outside funding sources such as this program will help lessen the burden on water customers. Due to Proposition 218, incorporated into our California Constitution, past due amounts cannot be forgiven by public water and sewer agencies and therefore requires the payment of past due amounts regardless of circumstance. By having funding from this program pay at least part of their past due balances, customers can then work with other outside agencies for additional funding assistance and work with Western staff on establishing a payment arrangement. So to give you a little bit more of a timeline of this program, right now water agencies are submitting a survey of responses that the State Water Board has posted to their website. And that survey, to get an idea of what kind of dollars are past due and that are eligible. That survey period closes on September 10th. Okay, and then in a couple weeks here, on September 21st, the State Board will consider adoption of draft program guidelines. And then 2 weeks later after that, the State Water Board will begin accepting formal applications from water agencies to participate in the program. That's the beginning of October. And then water agencies will have 2 months to get their formal applications in. Western will be getting theirs in as soon as that window opens. November 1st is when disbursement of program funds is expected to take place, and the Water Board staff will prioritize disbursements to small community water systems, which is not Western, and may prioritize community water systems serving disadvantaged communities. Though an adopted resolution is not required by the State Water Board, as a precautionary measure, legal counsel has recommended that Western adopt a resolution to authorize participation in and acceptance of funding from this state program. Western has a significant interest in helping customers who have been financially affected by COVID-19 and are now behind on their bill payments, so receiving external funding is a priority, and staff is available for any questions.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to public comments. Is there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
I see no hands raised at this time. Are there any members of the public on the phone call that would wish to speak? I hear none.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move it to comments.
President, I
Yes.
do have a question. On the language about being able to prioritize water agencies that serve disadvantaged communities. Western serves some disadvantaged communities, it serves some not disadvantaged communities. How do we know how that would split? If an agency serves some disadvantaged communities, does that move them up? Or does it have to be predominantly? Do we have information?
We don't. So we have the draft program guidelines, which I've read through. Doesn't dictate that. That will likely come up, though, at the State Water Board has a workshop on was it the 9th or so? Yes, on the 9th of this month, so real soon. And likely that question will come up, because it's a good question.
Okay,
wondering
thank
how
you.
they'll prioritize that.
Now, maybe I'll just add a little background into that. The question for some time, as this program was formulating, literally over the last year, is should there be a priority to smaller water systems over larger water systems? That was not put into the legislation or the budget action by the governor. So now it defers to the state board to figure out the rules. So it's been discussed a lot. It hasn't been a part of the criteria, but like Kevin says, we still don't know what the final rules are going to be.
Great, thank you.
Right. So I just wanted, for the benefit of our newest member on the board who hasn't had the opportunity, and I'm sure she read through the staff report, but the governor put an order out, and it made an executive order to the state for all public utilities that we cannot do shutoffs as of last March of 2020 when that order came out. So there aren't any shutoffs going on for non-payment, nor are there any late penalties being accrued at this time for people's lack of payment on their bill. Western, in and of itself, has accumulated unpaid bills over a period of time, which is now elevated over 700,000.
Try 8, just shy of 800,000.
Okay, so we were hovering for a while there, right around the $600,000 mark, but a number of our partner agencies that we wholesale to have hovered over $1 million in unpaid. So it's a significant amount of revenue that is missed out of the coffers to account for budgetary issues and a variety of different things. One of the things that we are bound by with a public utility is Prop 218. So we cannot take customer money to subsidize from one customer to subsidize another customer. We're prohibited from doing that. So we have to seek other types of means of funding, which is what this type of program affords us to. However, we're going to be somewhere down the line waiting for those funds because of the size of our agency, because of some criteria and some parameters that have been set up that we've been trying to advocate for. CMUA has been advocating at the forefront of this, and that's the California Municipal Utility Association. God, I've got to go through a lot of these acronyms. You hear them all the time, and then I got to think of what they stand for, so sorry. So that we have been partnering with those agencies, along with Aqua, along with a couple of other agencies that have been advocating for us to be made whole and try to assist the customers, because, like I said, for some of these agencies, $1 million out of your budget may be a significant hit on the budget to try to continue to fund your day-to-day operations. So that's just a little background for you to kind of get you caught up on where we've all been living this dream for the last 18 months. So did you have any questions that you wanted to ask in particular?
No.
Okay. Director Risby, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did you have?
I said if there's no question, I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
I do have a couple of questions,
Okay.
though. Sorry, I know the president forgot me, but it's okay. I just have a couple of questions. The first one is there's still no indication of how much may be allotted, right?
That's correct. And I should clarify, too, when President Instead asked about how much do we have past due, we've been reporting 31 days or more past due. Well, the State Water Board program is 60 days or more past due.
Okay.
So if we were to look at that today, we dropped that number from $800,000 to $600,000. But I just thought I'd make that clarification. And it's only from March 4th, 2020 through June 15th, 2021. And of course, we've been accumulating past due amounts since then. So this program only covers that limited period from March 2020 through June of 2021.
Only through June?
Yes, June 15th. So the rest of that balance of unpaid amounts will need to go into a payment program. In fact, every account that receives money from this program will need to be auto-enrolled into a payment program. Mm-hmm. But then when we notify them of this, how much they're receiving for their account, that they're enrolled in a payment program, they have the option to opt out within 30 days for whatever reason.
So they're the ones stipulating this enrollment and all of that, but we will administer it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So when we go to ask for money, we'll be asking for 600,000 instead of 800,000. Is that what you meant?
Yes, it probably won't be higher than that because the 600,000 is as of today. So backing that up, it's a little complicated, but we're talking about 600,000 or a little less. Yes.
Okay.
I figure in that range.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We have to eliminate anything that was past due at March 4th, 2020, which is proving to be an interesting exercise for staff to dig into.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. We had a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Risby?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 7C. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. Item 7C is consider approving a framework for directors to utilize water information groups within their division. This is an item that Director Torres has requested be put on the agenda. So we've put it on the agenda with some information, and I will turn it over to, I think, Director Torres, if she would like to discuss what she's looking for.
Yes, thank you so much. So as the general manager indicated, I've been asking for this, some type of a group or information group for a while. It was one of the first requests I received as an elected, was one to live stream, which we were able to accomplish, and the other were town halls, which also staff has been able to do, and as well as more, just more community engagement from Western. And so, we put together, Jeff and I, put together the staff report, answering a lot of the questions that staff had regarding the information group. So it's in there, but for me, this is an opportunity to have more community outreach, to be able to answer their community's questions, not just on what we have present today, which right now it would be something like the drought. We had rate increases. It's also long-term projects. Communications has been working on branding. And they actually did a good job at reaching out to the community for participation in that. But there's CIP projects that are coming up in people's areas that I think would be beneficial for our community members to know. And Director Roughton, as you know, I have a very different division than the rest of you, which is why I have so much of. You'll hear me talk a lot about the public, and that's because they're ratepayers. They come to me, and I just have a larger I guess connection because of the numbers in my division. But we put in the staff letter that this should be something that every director has a chance to create in their communities. When I first brought it up, I envisioned it as something as a whole, but it was your predecessor who said, I don't need it, thanks, do it in your own division. And that might not be the way you see things, but I think it should be an option for every director to hold. And it would be different than me having my own community meetings, which I do have, but those meetings are difficult to get Western there because they're not Western meetings. They're not put together by Western. So this is specifically so that they can get division, area updates, program updates, project updates, long-term vision updates on what's going on in their community when it comes to water. So that's all I have. That's all I have for that. I urge you to please vote for this, in favor of this, if you're so inclined. But what I'm envisioning is just getting closer to community, having a stronger pulse of what our community wants. And I think Jeff will help me answer any questions, because he was the one that kind of grilled me on all of this and typed this up. So that's it. That's it for me.
Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have anybody who wishes to speak under this 7C?
I see no hands raised. Are there any members of the public on the phone who would wish to speak on this item? I hear none.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public comment portion on that. Okay. Comments from any of the directors? Director Risby.
Yeah. So I'm okay. I just have one question. Is it's said that security been involved, or if it's supposed to be at the Western building. So what are the requirements of it being held here? It's a difference between having a regular meeting, a board meeting in the evening, or then to have just this information meeting. So
I think it's actually in the staff report. My vision, and I am a little different than the other directors, and that this is in my division, but would be either here or at the El Sobrante facility. And I think in the staff report, it also indicated that security would be used if it was here. Is that right?
And if it were after hours, where had to be some additional security, open and shut doors, for example.
I guess that kind of brings it. Is there security at MAC meetings? But no, they use the fire station, right?
Oh, at
Raglan's, sorry. Yes, Raglan.
Yes, they use the fire station.
All right.
The room by the fire station
Right.
over there, that little community room.
Okay. But if they were held at our facilities, I think.
And
it's
after
okay.
hours, then that might be an issue or a cost.
Cost, right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Didn't know if you were looking through your
No,
papers.
no, I'm good. Go ahead.
Director Roughton.
Oh, I guess my mic was still on. Sorry. I'll have to get used to that. Well, of course, I'm coming in on this after you all have had, I'm sure, other discussions about it. And
Actually, no, this is the first one, so you're on same
okay.
bar. So any questions you have?
Okay. So I guess I had a few because I'm trying to just understand the purpose of this and the need. And I understand when you have residential customers, that is a whole different ballgame. And it is very important for us as a whole district to be able to reach out to the community and share, the good things that are happening here and the challenging things and that kind of stuff. But one of the things that kind of stuck out to me, I'm a bit concerned about the 5-member group that apparently will not be ambassadors for Western. So we received multiple emails, and good for people for speaking up and being involved. That's important. One of the lines in the email said, "We've been working hard to make a difference in water quality and access by providing resources to community members, educating residents on how to reduce their water, and much more." I wasn't sure who "we" was. I don't know if there's a group out there now that's working together.
No, that's funny because I got a call this morning from a community member, and I asked almost the same question. I said, why, who's "we"? And they meant to put WMWD.
Oh, okay.
Which
okay.
we will never know because we don't get to respond to those in any, that's the reason I'm late. I had a few, people call me but one of them was one of the commenters. I don't remember their name. I would have to look at the list. But when I asked, I said, who is "we"? Because then maybe, I'll just join that group if you have a group.
Exactly.
Right, but they meant to type WMWD.
Okay.
It sounds like that's what they said.
So then when it goes on and says our outreach is really making a difference, I'm assuming that means WMWD's outreach?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it seems like they're saying there's good outreach, but yet they would still, the group that has written in would still like to have this information group. I guess my concern about the 5 people who would be chosen, I don't know exactly what that process would look like. I know it's at the discretion of the director, but it comes across to me as a little bit exclusive. If this is to get information to the ratepayers, especially the direct ratepayers, it seems to me like something more broad. For instance, maybe you would have these meetings and they'd be like a mini town hall within your district or within any of our districts, because I do think it needs to be offered to all 5. It's out of equity for everyone. But I'm concerned about the 5. And then I'm also a little bit concerned about, and I don't mean the 5 as in who they are, just the idea of the 5.
I think when Jeff and I were talking about it, so I saw this as an advisory group very early on, and that was just the name, that concept, but in reality, it's more for information. I think when Jeff and I were talking about why select a committee or why it would be more for formality, so that there's an agenda and there's somebody running the meeting that isn't myself, and let the community have a little bit of that independence. That's how I envisioned it, but I absolutely understand the way you're perceiving it, and I'm open to making that kind of a change if it pleases the rest of the board. What I just want is to get the community together. What I don't want is to be the one standing at the podium the entire time, and I would like open discussion and have 5 leaders in the community that really run the meeting with our support. That's how I envision it. It's really based on the community and less to do with me standing up there. That's what the notion was behind it.
Yeah, and if I may, just real briefly, I think that was one of the points that we talked about directly, and it was these 5 would only have a 1-year term and they'd be rotated. Number 2, at least there'd be a group of at least 5 that would have some investment in attending these meetings and putting together what they want to talk about. But then number 3, they're all Brown Act public meetings. So anybody from any division can come and participate as much as any of the 5 members that do attend. And then finally, by having this not something that the board is only receiving and filing and not approving, they don't become ambassadors or something more formal with the board, which would bring it all, a whole host of other things about who are they representing. We're not representing anybody. They're simply a task force to be an airing out of issues of the district. And if you had something more formal or something approved by the board, or if they were ambassadors of the district, that would be a whole nother level of responsibility that is not the intent of this.
And I think with the ambassador thing is kind of like you said, we don't want to say that now your homework is to go to your community and talk to them.
Right.
Right. But of course, I hope they do, right? But I think to not add a responsibility or not add, not add a, it's not their job or it's not an appointment or, it's just a community, a group of.
And so the rest of the board is not responsible for who they are, what they do, how long they
Right.
stay on. It is simply a matter of the board approving, expending resources, but much less than for many other things that board members attend for this sort of outreach.
Okay, so then you're looking for buy-in, and that's the 5 people. And then, so is that for you to get information, or is it for them? Because I'm just thinking to only reach out, and I realize it's anyone can go to the meeting, but if you're only looking at 5 people, it just doesn't.
5 people
I don't
to
understand.
run the meeting, right? Like 5 people, 5 leaders to make sure to run the meeting, help organize it, or because there's very minimal that West staff will be doing on this. So they're basically they would lead the meeting, just like we do, and then they would rotate out. It could be 3, it could be 7, it could be 20. But I think we chose 5 just because it's a nice, easy number. But no, it's meant to be a larger group where 5 of them are leading the meeting, as opposed to myself, as opposed to someone on staff.
Okay.
All right, so if you had no members, then the concern is you would go through all this effort and then you
No one
wouldn't
shows up.
guarantee that anybody would show up, or people who show up wouldn't have an investment or background in terms of what Western does or getting the right feedback.
Okay, so you mentioned town halls that did occur?
We do have, I don't remember
So
the last time we had one.
we
but-
already have town halls. Are they, could I get maybe a little explanation of
Sure.
what that looks like?
Sure, we started town halls, we called them Water 411 meetings. We did them in our 2 retail areas in Murrieta and in Director Torres' area, and we did those at the Woodcrest Library, if I remember correctly. No, we did it
they were
here.
here.
Sorry, we did it here.
They were here. I
Sorry,
was like, where
getting
was it?
confused with Woodcrest Mac. We did it here, then the pandemic hit, and we did it virtually. So we've had both virtual and in-person 411 meetings.
And how
And
often
and
did
they're
those
open to
happen?
those are district-wide, but we did,
Focus.
I guess, advertise them that the ones that were here were going to be more focused on our Riverside customers, and the one in Murrieta was going to be more focused on the Murrieta customers, but you could go to either one. And we did have people that went to both.
Okay. Okay, so,
And I know you didn't attend them, but those are very cookie cutter. So we talk about what is Western, why are your rates higher than other? So it's very, like you said, very district wide, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful and definitely a huge step forward from where we were before. But I'm looking at this to be something where there's a report from the engineering committee where you'll see, or you did see?
I did go. to
Yeah,
the
yeah, I was like,
engineering.
you've seen that sometimes those engineering reports are so incredibly informational, like they're so useful. And I would, aside from me memorizing that or taking my own report to every community meeting in my area, it would be nice for, Derek to come or somebody on his staff to come and give that same report and say, hey, in the next year, you have 3 CIP projects. This is where they are. This is what they're about, rather than waiting to hear about it when we're going to vote. And then they just have the information. They understand what's going on in their community. So that's the difference between the town halls we generally have to this.
Okay, and do we ever have workshops like attached to our board meeting. Like, for instance, sometimes for city council, I know it's not the same thing. We might have a workshop that starts, an hour before the regular council meeting. Now, of course, we met it in the evening, so that timing probably might not work here. But it would be, it's a little more casual environment in the workshop, and it is usually on particular topics, but those could be, I would think, directed by input from the board with, what information are people looking for. I feel like we already have the 2 board meetings a month. We have 3 committee of the whole, which I have to tell you, I have not heard of that concept, and I love it. It is so awesome that anyone and everyone can attend those. And there aren't so many of them that, you're like, oh my gosh, they're every other day. But, and yes, there is some information that maybe the public who isn't going to be as familiar with the terminology and things, like I'm finding out, may not understand all of that in depth, but it's there for them. So I feel like they're given those opportunities, and I'm just concerned about the exclusiveness of this. If I were a member of the public, I would wonder, I think, they already have a board of directors. Why are they now picking 5 more people? And if this is truly a meeting for me to go and get information, how did those 5 people get to sit up there and I didn't? And I think it opens us up to some concerns out in the public, but also it is a Western thing, but it's not a Western thing, but yet we're going to have some staff time involved. And so indirectly, we really are responsible for it, even though it's those community members. They're not an independent community group, that's come forward like the Friends of Water or whatever.
And I think that's why I mentioned when I envisioned it as an advisory group to be, and I think when I brought this up the first time, I said I want it to mirror the MAC. I want it to be like a MAC. But a MAC is a lot more formal. It's it's meant to report back to the board of directors. That's not what this is meant for, right? I think that was one of the concerns that staff had is, are they going to tell you how to vote? And I said, no, of course not. So that's why it went from that to more of an information group. So I envision it to be structured and organized, and with those 5 leaders. And I mean, I'm okay with overlooking that or making that more something that is.
Well, I think you can make it more than 5. That's the least of your problems, is getting 10 people who want to be on the task force. I think the goal was to get at least 5 so that there's some group that is regularly meeting and has some investment in coming. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so you mentioned task force. So that's to me, that's a different picture.
Water
than
information.
Water information group.
I think he means task force as a group of people.
I just meant water information group. I used the wrong vernacular.
Okay.
And sorry, I'll go ahead and give a little bit of background too, because I understand, Director Outen, you're kind of, getting dropped into the middle of this kind of a discussion without a whole lot of background and having a lot of informational things on things that we've done in the past and how we've responded to the public, what our interaction is, what our level of engagement is. So let me go ahead and run down just a couple of things really quickly. As mentioned before, we've had the 411, the town halls that we call them, so that's an event that we interact with the public. We have had, yes, all of the committee meetings. They are committee meetings of the whole, and they're open to any member of the public who wishes to attend any of those meetings. So our minutes are posted, our agendas are posted, all the information packets are posted on our website and are available at any time to anyone to have access to those. We've had an additional groups of meetings that we have. So we regularly and actively engage with all of our chamber associations. So all of the chambers within our service territories, we, Western, as a whole, are members. So we, as directors, attend those events to engage with the commercial and the business communities as well as our direct retail customers. So that's a different scope level. We also have had events here which we've called open houses. I know the pandemic and COVID has kind of put a little bit of a damper on those public engagement events, and it's kind of hard to do an open house, I think, when you can't come to the house and see the house. But that's something that has been within our roster to offer to the public. We had a wonderful turnout when we did it here at the Meridian office last time, and I'm trying to remember, it was in November of 19 was the last one. We had our equipment out here. We had staff that was out here from departments. We had community members and groups come out here to join us from various organizations. The Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department was out here. We had confined space rescue stuff going on out here. We had backer trucks and big, large equipment that kids just love to climb on and take a look at. So there was that level of engagement as well. We also have area meetings that take place. So the Woodcrest MAC, which is hosted traditionally by the County of Riverside, District 1 Supervisor is the driver of that. That is an entire body that we have been on and have participated and have been put on their agenda. Raglan is also another one. That's the Residents Association of Greater Lake Matthews. They have their own association that they've created for the residents up in that area that they run and drive and agendize, and have invited us on a regular basis. The staff attends those meetings. We also have an invitation that has been extended to the Riverside directors to attend the Ward 4 meeting, which has been by the council member, Mr. Condor, and he has invited Western staff to participate in that. And we also participated with the previous council member, who was council member Davis. Thank you very much. So we've been actively engaged in those for a number of years. And like I said, with the restrictions and kind of the environment with COVID, we've kind of had to take a little bit of a step off from a couple of those things. So there may not have been as much activity, obviously, in the last 18 months because of the restrictions that we've been given. We've had a number of, when we were doing our rate adjustments, we had 6 customer information sessions that were offered to members of the public on different dates and different times to have a very open and informative dialogue sessions with those individuals so that they knew exactly what was going on, so that they could ask questions about those types of things. And then we also have had in the past, which I'm actually kind of hoping to get back to, and was going to have that level of discussion for a director's request at the end, so it's kind of amusing that you said that, was a workshop. So Western used to engage, the board used to engage in workshop sessions for the board members so that we could get more detailed information on particular items. That was something that we had done in the past. It was something that I was going to suggest that we come back to that format again because of the amount of time that individuals have had, and just to get involved and get more informed on some projects or some past history, and kind of bring everybody up to the same speed so that we can ask those direct kind of questions in a more informal setting and go more in depth and give more history on, so that you kind of know what our starting point has been and why we're at where we're at. And then one of the first topics I wanted to try to bring to light and try to see how we could do that was the legal aspect of everything that we're involved in right now. And anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. But not to do too much detail, but there are a number of opportunities of levels of engagement. So I just wanted to give you a little background as to what the history is. I don't know if Strategic Communication has anything else to offer. I know that they regularly engage on Facebook. We have videos that we post. We have newsletters that we are part of. We put out bill stuffers, because in our retail area, we do have that. Both Director Torres and myself have direct service retail customers that we provide service to. I have a number of wholesale agencies that we provide wholesale water to as the agencies, and then they retail it out. Director Torres also has that 2/3 of the customers in her division are RPU customers. So they receive their direct water service from Riverside Public Utilities as customers that are in her division. So just so you understand what the makeup is of that. So I hope that gives you a little bit more background and history. And if you wanted to think about some more questions, I could move on to a different director.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Director Gardner, did you have any questions, comments?
I don't think I have questions, just a couple of comments. I think it's been mentioned that there are already a number of organizations and events that are held specifically in Division 2, but also similar events are held in each of our divisions. There are the MACs, there's a council members community meeting. Some people who have multiple cities may have multiple council member community meetings. There are a variety of community groups. When I was on the Riverside City Council, there were 8 active community groups just in Ward 1. I think that is down a little bit in number from when I left the council, but there are a number of community groups, and there are several in Division 2, which Western is always welcome to go to. And then all of the Western events that provide information. A concern that I have is if the intent is to share information about Western and there are 5 or fewer members of this group, how does, and they're not ambassadors, how does the information actually get to the remainder of the customers?
No, the 5 were just, you know, I honestly don't mind that going away if that's the issue. We can make it 20. They would just run the meeting, just like we do. But the intent is to have 100, 200 people there one day. That's what the intent is. It's not to keep it to only 5 or under. That's just for a structural, organizational component to it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I'm sure you can discern, Director, that the 15 minutes, 5 minutes that Western gets at these different community meetings would be very different than the special attention they would get at something like this. And yes, there are a lot of community groups that, like, I attend, but I can tell you there's not one in Orange Crest. That is very, and Sarah will tell you, they're a group that is very adamant about being ignored by Western. You know, I guess I could start it myself. You know, I don't live there, but there isn't one in, there isn't one in, like, there are just groups there are pockets that don't have these groups that need to be included, and they're loud. It's the loud ones that say, "Why are we being ignored? Why don't you tell us things? Why don't you do this?" And I always respond, "You're not being ignored. We have all these groups. We have all these meetings because it's true. It's true that we do reach out. I've never once said that we don't, but I'm looking at something that that is more focused. That is." Something that is for the community from us. We have, and Director Dunstett said this, we have both wholesale and retail customers. We make a very strong effort to meet every other month, to get together with our wholesale customers and say, hey, give me your updates, let's give you your updates. We sit on those committees and we talk to them. The general managers talk to each other at those meetings, and they are actively involved and know exactly what their provider is doing. I'm asking for the same thing for the retail customers. That's all.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make a couple of comments. And I agree with Director Torres that customers who want communication deserve communication. However, there isn't any reason, I take it upon myself, and I see it as my job to do the outreach to my community and my customers and frequently meet with them. In fact, I had a coffee this morning that I attended at 7:30. And that's available to me to set up myself. That's available for any of the directors should they want to choose to do that on their individual basis, to meet with whoever they'd like to meet with in whatever format they'd like to meet with on their own, within their service area or any place else for that matter, to push information out there and share information. I get stopped at the grocery store. It's generally when I'm in my sweats and have my hair pulled back and I don't necessarily have my face on. It's not an opportune time, and I'm usually pulling milk out of the refrigerator section, and somebody says, hey, can I ask you a question? Absolutely. It happens all the time. I see that as my job to push information out. I see that as the, I regularly meet with city council members who are also hosting coffees. You guys aren't moving out there, Muff. You guys are clearly needing to not sit so still in the gallery here. It's on an automated system, so we save energy.
No one's moving.
So we save energy. There are a number of opportunities to meet with council members who also host these types of things that I have been invited to and regularly attend within my area of service, and I'm happy to do that. I also meet with school district officials, and I go to attend school district things, although not during COVID because they've not been open, so it's been a little bit more difficult. I was really impressed with the level of engagement that we received this year at, I think it was the last board meeting, was it? That we had all the students for the art group, and how many submissions we actually had this year, which says that we're actually engaging with people at different levels in different topics and different environments, and they're seeking that engagement. And I thought that was a wonderful turnout, and we had so many kids that participated in that in such restrictive times for us to be able to do. So I thought that was really good as far as that's concerned. I don't know how we engage. All of the information that's put in this report to share with people are open and available at their free fingertips to be able to access the information freely and openly on our website, and we can share that at any time. And they're certainly welcome to attend any one of our committee meetings. Those are all open to the public, and we publicly notice those and advertise them and post them on our website for people to go ahead and engage in that. And finally, I think it's just kind of redundancy and a different level of government that we're trying to accommodate people with, and there is an expense that's involved with that, and I don't see that the expense outweighs the benefit. At least for me, I don't see a need for me to have to do this type of group because I already engage with folks on a pretty consistent basis, and they know how to reach me, and I'm happy to meet with them in the area that I serve and any other area for that matter if they'd like to do that. So that is kind of where I'm at. And the chamber meetings we attend, all of the functions and the galas and the variety of different things, those are also people that are not just business owners and commercial owners, but they're also potentially our retail customers too. So, so those are just the kinds of things that I see. And I just don't see a need for it. And just some additional background that I forgot to mention, and I apologize for that, but this concept was brought up back in January of 19. It was shortly after you were seated on the board. It went to the executive committee, who at the time was Directors Galliano and Stockton. And they, at that time, had the meeting at the executive committee level, and they did not push it forward for further discussion because they didn't feel that they needed it for their particular areas, was what it was. It's changed a little bit since then in its format and concept and some of these ideas. And I think it's wonderful that you want to go out and engage with your folks, and, that you could do that in any format, yourself, to be able to answer their questions and provide them with additional information, as well as any other director that wants to do that in their service area, to do that kind of engagement and print the reports up and share them, or give them the website information, and they can do it at their leisure. So those are kind of my comments at this point.
Thank you, Director. I did want to make it clear, the budget impact there says that there is no budget impact. That would be any different than what that's already been budgeted, because the staff is salaried. That would need to be there. And again, if there are night meetings, that would probably be an expense, and the directors would not be receiving maybe that should have been the thing. We should be getting compensation. Maybe we would be more inclined. I'm not sure. But I know that's an extra expense that I wouldn't want to, put onto our ratepayers. So that's why we took it out, director's compensation. So actually, there isn't an extra expense to do this group.
President Dinstead, there is a member of the public who has had their hand up since the beginning of the item for public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought we called for public comment. I apologize.
Would you like to do that now, or would you like to wait?
No, go right ahead, and we'll go ahead. I apologize. I thought I had done that.
No problem. At this time, I'd like to call Jason Hunter.
Yes, hi there. Good morning. Jason Hunter, live here in the city of Riverside. I support the concept of what Director Torres is proposing here. I always think it's good to communicate with, she's trying to communicate with her constituents, but the district should be trying to communicate with its customers. And she's in a little bit of a unique situation because she has, I believe, somewhere around 20,000 customers, which is probably 6 to 7 times more than any other person on the board would have. And so if she'd like to get out there and communicate more, and I represent a couple of community groups here in the city of Riverside, president of Neighbors of the Wood Streets. I'm also the chairman of Neighbors Better Together, which is the largest resident representative group in the entire city. So we are always in favor of educating and informing the public more about what our municipal agencies are up to, and having that be a two-way street. And what I hear here is that Ms. Torres, who would know better than anyone else as to what her constituents and your ratepayers want, would like to propose something to getting that information out to the public. And I think that's, in general, a very good idea, as long as it, of course, doesn't weigh too heavily on district resources. But I don't think this would, and it's not without precedent. I was just at a meeting not too long ago up in Ward 4 where the representative for Ward 4 was there, and lo and behold, I saw district representatives, the general manager, and I also saw one of the board of directors at that meeting. And so what Ms. Torres wants to do is institute some sort of MAC-like, it's maybe MAC-Lite, Municipal Advisory Committee, for those unfamiliar with it, over at the county, in order to bring information points of district concern to the people paying the bills. Could it be done other ways? Could it be done via, maybe you guys need a policy for mandating that staff go to meetings that Ms. Torres holds herself? Maybe that's an alternative. Maybe the district needs to go to evening meetings, having the meetings not at 9:30 in the morning where they're hard for the public to attend. Maybe it has to go to 6:30 meetings. There are other ways to do this, I think, and get that information across. Ms. Torres thinks this is the best. I'm willing to give it a try. I think people in the community will be receptive towards it. I hope the board would be the same, or we can do it another way. But I think that the information does need to be conveyed better to the people paying the bills in one way or another, guys. All right, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Mr. Hunter. Okay.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time on this item? I hear none.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public comment. Okay. I'm sorry, you were going to say something, and
That's okay. I just had a couple of follow-up thoughts and probably a question. So I think the goal of this is admirable and necessary. And always we need to be finding the best ways to communicate with who we serve, whether it's individual residents, the wholesale customers, whoever it is. And I think Mr. Hunter kind of mentioned maybe the discussion needs to more surround the mechanism to do that. So a couple of questions, I guess. If the district as a whole can look at areas like you mentioned Orange Crest, that there's a real need there, that folks don't feel that they have that extra avenue that others might have because they're in more close proximity to some of these other community groups. Or say there's, you know, I know for me in my area it's a little bit different, but say Norco decided, you know, that they're feeling that we haven't paid enough attention. I'm throwing that out there. I'm not saying that we haven't. I'm just making that up. So I think at different times and in different seasons, there are going to be areas, we serve such a huge area, that are going to need extra attention. And it may be temporary. It may be, you know, one meeting takes care of it. It might need to be a series of ways that we address it. So could there be something at that point where we're, I guess each director would need to be aware of what's happening. And I'm sorry, Director Risby, I feel like I'm turning my back on you, and I don't mean to do that.
You're fine, you're fine.
I apologize.
I feel like I do that to Jeff all the time.
I know, because we're all kind of like looking up. I think that if we can figure out maybe each of us just trying to have a better awareness or more awareness of those needs within our district, and then if there's something that can be done, like maybe there's a couple of mini town halls that could be held in Orange Crest where staff would be there, because I do think, I don't want to overburden staff, but I do think it's important to be able to call upon at least a staff member, even if it would be just to, maybe they can't answer every question that evening or day, but that they can get back to that person. Because I think when folks feel listened to, and then the follow through, and again, I am not saying that you all don't listen and follow through, because I know that you do, but you know, I've watched it happen in my own city. When people feel that they're being heard,
Yes, absolutely.
they are so much happier. And even if the problem doesn't get solved the way they would like it to, or addressed the way they would like it to, they feel like, oh my gosh, someone finally heard me.
100%.
So-
You're 100% hit it. I think when I first talked to Craig about it, that's what I told him. I said, if they feel like they're being heard, I can literally say to them, this is why I voted opposite of what you felt. But they know that I still heard them, and they're able to hear me, right? Or for that, whatever it was, it's really about being heard and being at the table. Sometimes it's a need. I'm open to making it more the last time we talked about this, or around the same time that we talked about this, I had asked for a community coffee in Orange Crest, because at the time Orange Crest was blowing us up. And I say us as in on Facebook and Western's Facebook, and so we were being blown up, and I asked for a coffee, and that was also shut down. So if you can see here, I'm having a little bit of a difficulty trying to figure out how I can effectively, with staff support, communicate things to my constituents, like you said, in a way where it's centered and they feel heard. So I'm open to your suggestions, Director. I think you completely understand the notion behind all of this.
Yeah, I do.
I wish I could meet all 21,000 of my ratepayers at the grocery store, but I can't. I actually shop in RPU's area, so even if that was the case, I couldn't do it. But that is where this is coming from, and I appreciate that you're coming from a place of understanding.
Well, and I think it's important too, for Director Routen's benefit, that we do staff all of these other events, all of these things when the Woodcrest, Raglan, the Ward 4 meetings, all of those are staffed, because they do put us on the agenda, so we do have staff strategic communications, God, I still can't get around that name change. Strategic communications staff attends those regularly, as well as either the general manager or the deputy general manager attend those, depending upon how they're switching out. But like Mr. Hunter pointed out, we have a very small strategic communication department, and it does talk about resources and overburdening those resources. So for information to be duplicated and then have them present to go. And, you know, I think it's a wonderful idea that Director Torres wants to reach out to her group. And like I said, there's nothing that limits her from being able to do that individually on her own, just like I do that. I've done that for years. To be able to engage with that.
Are you disagreeing
those groups? So I just don't see the need to
have a staff member there?
The staff resources to be able to accomplish that type of a mission. And I would say that, you know, perhaps if there is, and maybe Mr. Hunter's group, maybe you need to communicate with Mr. Hunter. It sounds like he's
I attend regularly. I attend all my groups regularly,
so,
which is why I'm able to get support for these types of things.
You know, so I mean, so it sounds like you're attending a lot of these things. You've gone to Raglan meetings and MAC meetings with Woodcrest and a variety of those different things where all of that information, and because those are the people that are really engaged, right, that keep showing up at those.
You're absolutely right. And I think Jason Hunter also touched on the fact that because I'm so present in my community, I know that this is something my community wants. I don't know that about Murrieta. I don't know that about Norco, but this is giving us the opportunity to create that. And maybe we get a little more discretion, Laura. Maybe in our motion we can get a little more discretion. It's not 5 members, but give us the opportunity to, when we feel that our community wants to hear from us, that we can, and we can call upon a staff member or a staff report for those types of events. I'm willing to compromise, but I can tell you this all comes because this is what my community is asking for. It disheartens me to think that what that means is that there are 4 board members making a decision, or 5 board members, excuse me, I'm sorry, I know you're new, but now I'm used to saying 4. There are 5 board members making a decision about one community. You know, like I said, it should be open to all, but about one community who is actually asking for this. So again, I'm willing to make amendments. I can, in my motion, I'll write them down so that the motion is clear. It doesn't have to be solely 5 members. It can just be a community group that's ran by each director and only has 1 staff member, or staff reports are created. I think that was another option in the staff. But I'm not above asking again for you to give me the leniency, or give each other the leniency to reach out to our communities in a focused way. I know my constituents want to hear from Western. They hear from me all the time. They hear from me. And I'm imperfect, so they also hear my opinions, and that shouldn't be the case. They should hear facts from staff reports, so that they are getting all the information, right? And so that's, again, I implore of you all to take a step back from the way you might be seeing this and think, if my community was asking me for this or something like this, how would I want my fellow board of directors to respond? And like I said, I'll write it down. I'll change anything that you feel. For instance, I think you both had concerns about it being a 5-member group. That I'm okay amending. I am okay in amending. Having multiple staff members, we don't need to do that either. At least 1 or a staff report created is okay with me too. And then everything else, if you really take a look at it, falls on the director. It falls on the director. I was hoping that it would fall on the director and the advisor or the community appointees, But I'm okay with changing that. And again, I'm not coming from a place of anything but listening and hearing. This was the very first, there were 3 things that I was asked for. And this is the 3rd thing that I'm going to continue to advocate for, and whatever form it looks like. But like I said, the town hall, the town hall was something that we brought up, and it's nothing like what I imagined at all, but it's wonderful. It's wonderful the way that it's done on Zoom, the way that there are different departments that speak. So I'm okay with amendments. I'm definitely okay with things changing and evolving. The first community group turns out, okay, maybe we don't need it once a quarter. We do only need it when the community feels unheard, right? Whatever the case is, I'm okay with that. But what I don't want to walk away from today's meeting is telling my community again, I'm sorry, I didn't have the votes, or I'm sorry, because they're asking me for this. They're not asking me to attend because I attend. My community knows I will sit and listen to them yell at me. I will sit and listen to them argue with me. I'll take punches, of course. And I'm not asking Western to take punches, but who they're asking to listen from is Western. And again, I'm not above imploring or asking for this. And I'd appreciate if we give feedback now and say, let's change these minor things. Give a little more, maybe a little more leniency in the verbiage so that it doesn't have to be 5 members. It could be just the director. I'm okay with amending my motion and doing something like that, and I appreciate that.
And I'm sorry, if I may, one option would be to change the recommendation to staff request that the board of directors consider approving a framework whereby each director could, if they wish, conduct a water information meeting within their respective divisions with the purpose and logistics outlined in the staff report, excluding number 1. And number 1 would be the
5-member.
The 5 members, so you have no members.
Honestly, I am okay with that. I'm actually okay with the changing thing, as long as I can come back to my community and say, hey, we're going to meet and we're going to talk about water, and you won't just get 5 minutes at your designated meetings. You'll get a little bit more time, hopefully, and not just me, right? So I'm okay with that. Director Gardner, that seemed to be your concern. I'm okay with that. Director Roughton, that seemed to be your concern too. And I'm not here to do anything outside of the scope of what I've seen other community leaders or elected officials do. So that's, I guess I'll wait and see if you have any comments to what I've just said.
I just wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So when we started with this conversation, the idea was an advisory group, and I was really against having an advisory group because we are the advisors to the community of what's going on in our board. But I'm okay with providing information. As a new board member, I'm learning that, in my community, people have no idea what Western does, right? It's like I have to explain to everybody. Tonight, I'm going to Corona City Council meeting just to introduce myself and telling them what we do. We are such an important part of the community, but people like, what is Western, right? So something of that sort, yes, I agree. And yes, there will be questions and there will be things that I won't be able to answer, and I will bring it back to the board. So I would say that yes, I am in favor of having this structure. I'm not sure about how we're looking at, but having the meeting where I can take my, one of the staff member and say, hey, these are the questions they're asking. You're an expert of what is going on, and you can answer them better, right? I would love to be the center of attention and answering every question, but we have a staff who is much more knowledgeable and much more into these stuff. So I would say that this is my information is, and yes, as an elected official and as the representative, I would like to provide as much information to my community and my constituents.
And I understand that we did actually have another public comment. Was that correct?
Yes, Director, there was another member of the public who was trying to notice us that they wish to speak. It's Councilmember Chuck Conder from Ward 2 for the City of
No.
Riverside.
Ward 4.
Excuse me, Ward 4. Councilmember Conder, would you like to speak?
The most important one is why it is.
Yes, good morning to the Board of Directors and good morning to all the representative staff from Western Board of Public Utilities, Water District. Anyway, good morning to all. Hey, I'm calling in to ask the board to reject completely item 7C as it is. We don't need more political bureaucracies being formed. It's a purely political item. At this point, the Western customers deserve to have better, and this is being done as a political stunt for Director Torres' run for the County Board of Supervisors. I see no problem if she wants to have little meetings to tell the customers of what's going on, but as she knows, we've begun our face-to-face Ward 4 meetings again, and as always, she is always welcome to come and speak to her people there. So just asking the board to reject it as is. It's purely political. We don't need that now. I thank you, Director Roughton. Welcome on board. You have a tough job replacing our dear friend Don Galliano, but you are the right person to do it. And if I can help you in any way, Director, your partner there, former Councilor Mike Gardner, Director Gardner, can give you any information you need to contact me. So have a blessed day to all of you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to call for one last time to make sure there aren't any other members. At this time, we'll call final time for public comment on item 7C. Hearing none and seeing no hands raised, I will close the public comment period.
Thank you.
I did have just a quick comment. I think we've addressed the bureaucracy portion of this, as in they won't be advising us on how to vote, so that's inaccurate. And it can't be political because I asked for this month 1 when I was in no way, shape, or form close to election or re-election. So you can take their comments as you'd like, but the truth of the matter is this is something that my community, that as we saw in public comment, is asking for. So
thank you. I wanted to address one other thing, and I got kind of jumbled around here. So, and just for the benefit of probably, I think all 3 of you. So yeah, I'm trying to, and actually, Director Torres, I think this might be for you as well, because I don't think you were on the board yet. For the comment that we received to move the meetings to nighttime meetings, we did do an entire year of the last one. Okay, so it was in Marietta. Yes, it was in Marietta. So we actually took and did a road trip with the board, and we moved the meeting and had one meeting down in the evening in Marietta. We had additional meetings up here in our service at this building here in the evening, and we did that at the request of Director Torres' predecessor for Tom Evans, who wanted to seek more engagement from the public in opening those meetings and moving them to the evening. And unfortunately, that fell flat because the entire year, I think we had a total of 8 to 10 people total that attended, not at each meeting, total that attended. And it was a significant burden on staff to be able to move that around and have that level of participation and to do that. So I just wanted to address that comment that we received from the public that we have, in fact, tried to do this. There was no real benefit of that in happening that. I think perhaps the change that these meetings are now live streamed and recorded and people can go back and actually watch the entire interaction at their leisure has probably changed that format in and of its entirety so that they can engage at a totally different area, time at their leisure. And these are televised. I understand they're being televised between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m., but nonetheless, in Riverside, if you have the access to the Rivco TV channel, that's when these are broadcast, and you're certainly welcome if that's the hour that you catch up on your civic engagement, so be it. You know, to each his own. So I just wanted to give that context for the rest of the board, that those items, those things have been done, and it comes down to really what resources are. And I don't think we're saying, at least I'm not saying, I don't think that this is a bad idea. I'm simply saying that I don't understand the need to tax our additional staffing resources and the building resources and have a security thing involved in this when the directors can engage independently on their own time, at their leisure, whenever they decide to share this information. And certainly if there is a question that you need to have help answering, then that's an opportunity for you to come back to staff and get that, and then continue the engagement with those individuals, is how I see it, so you can continue to have and build rapport with those individuals. So, well, I think it's a wonderful thing that you want to communicate with your folks. There's nothing that says that you can't engage independently yourself, and it sounds like you have been doing that, and kudos to you for doing that. I think that's great. I think, you know, that's what I do down in Marietta, and unfortunately, sometimes it's just at the grocery store.
And that is wonderful, and I appreciate your comments, President Dunstad. I don't know if you have any other concerns. I am prepared to make the motion that Jeff Ray asked for, but I won't make it unless there's other concerns that we can maybe work out together.
I was just going to suggest that a way to accomplish this, and what you want to do, I think, is a great thing. And I think it's a necessary thing. And I know some people in Orange Crest, and I hear from them on occasion as well, and Western is not their favorite entity always. But I think maybe a way to accomplish this without creating new structures is for the board to give direction to staff to, as we do the Water 411 meetings, to have them focus on a particular division or a particular area. I mean, you get some generalized Western stuff for those who don't know, but then you get a focus on, here's what's happening in this area, and have it be a more conversational
I don't want to
back
interrupt,
and
but
forth.
that is what happens at the Water 411 meetings, actually. They have, Craig mentioned they have two. They have two, and they do have that opportunity.
But I think we have.
Unless you see it a little differently.
I think my point is perhaps we need more of those. And I think one that focuses on each of the divisions, because there are issues. There are some divisions where there are no retail customers of any sort, not water, not sewer, not wastewater customers or treated wastewater customers. And there are others that have all of those things.
That's a great, I think that's a great idea. I'm always for adding more stuff, but how would that be less use of resources?
Well, and let me offer something else too, so Director Gardner, so you're
that's a great
aware. When we do have significant projects that affect an area,
Yes.
it has been traditional in the past that strategic communications, engineering, water resources, whoever that group that it involves, we generally have an event, and I'll give our most recent one that we've had was the Northwell. So that project, we actually set up an entire pop-up tent down there to let the public know that this was something that was getting ready to happen. We engaged it directly in the area with the neighbors that were going to be affected by this project. Staff were there and available to answer all of those questions. So all of our major projects that we get ready to kick off, the last one that was done was La Sierra Pipeline. Bob Stockton was hugely engaged in that. He met with business owners down there that were going to be affected by road closure and moving of the traffic lanes, and all of the business owners. The chamber was very involved, any residents that were potentially impacted, and we set up an entire engagement to inform everybody of what that was going on. So those types of things have happened in the past, and I don't imagine that those are ever going to
Is that what you're envisioning? Are you-
discontinued. I just
It
wanted to
wouldn't-
let you
yeah,
know that
it
that was
wouldn't be
something
limited
that's,
to that. I mean,
you know.
and we're putting together one on the Cannon Pump Station now.
Right, right.
I mean, that's going to be a significant project, and there's going to be a specific outreach to the
Right.
area around that. No, I was thinking more of kind of trying to revitalize our Water 911 program, have it meet,
No,
or have the programs.
We're not
more-
doing
For-
anything 911.
411.
Let's be clear about that.
411.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
911 at Western,
Crowd.
okay?
I saw you two
Yeah.
chuckle, and I was like, he must have said something
Yeah.
wrong.
No.
Yeah, no, Water 411 meetings. I think there would be value in having those more frequently as we hopefully get out of COVID and can have more in-person meetings more easily. I think that would be beneficial. I'd like to see them held physically in an area where there are issues, where there are projects coming. And I think there should be one that focuses on things in each of the 5 divisions. And I'd be happy to start with Division 2. I do think that there is a feeling amongst some of the customers in the Riverside service area, in Division 2, that Western doesn't pay enough attention to them. And I think that's a way to do it without creating a whole new structure. So that would be my recommendation, is that we direct the staff to,
Hold
Yeah.
like a town hall in each division?
yeah. And if we want to call it the Water 411, fine. If we want to create a new title, also fine. But I think the concept is a great one. I don't think it has been used as broadly as it could be, partly because of COVID. It's just much tougher. So that's my idea, and that saves us from having to create a new process. And I think it could be very effective to reach the goal that you have. So.
I like I said, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm always for adding way more engagement. They'll let you know. But I'm not saying but as in I wouldn't. But if this was on the dais, I would vote absolutely. But comparative to what I'm proposing, the staff resources for that would be actually higher. Because I don't know if you've attended a 411, haven't you? So you see that how much staff is there. So the staff, compared to this, the staff resources would be a lot higher, and it would also remove discretion from each board member. And for instance, if Director Denstedt said, I don't want one, I mean, I guess you could still say she doesn't want one. But that's, so like I said, I am happy to do a Water 411 in each division. I think that's wonderful. I just feel like the staffing need will be more than what would be for a community group. And this is just the framework. It's not putting together any more than that. But I wish I could motion on that and make it something separate, and have the 2 items. I don't want it to be this. I don't know, I guess, do you mind? I mean, how do you feel about that, Fazia, or excuse me, Director Rizvi, Director Rotten? I'm here to be incredibly amendable. I think that's great. Honestly, I think that's a wonderful idea. I just see this as something different. But it doesn't have to be my vision completely if we are able to agree on something that brings more outreach, to be quite frank. So I don't know, how do you feel? Like I said, I see these very differently, but I'm happy. I think that's a wonderful idea that you brought up. So I don't want it to be, I don't know, how do you,
So could it be a substitute motion? Are we allowed to do
Well, I
that?
haven't made a motion.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so.
There's been no motion and no second, so. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. So do we have, and again, forgive me because I just don't have this background, but do we have a a board policy or mechanism to request, if we see something in our hotspot, in our division, an area. I know we keep using Orange Crest as an example, so
It's a
hopefully.
very good
Hopefully
example.
they'll know that we are,
Well, I hope they are
we're focusing
listening
on that, but do we have a mechanism for the director of that particular area to ask for either an agenda item or come to the board or come to staff to request for, and I don't want to say a one-time, but, maybe it's a one-time or a series of 2 or 3 times to address that particular community with those particular concerns and have a staff member
Present.
Attend that?
We do
have
not.
that?
That is what this is supposed to address. We don't. Like I said, the last time, almost at the same time, I asked for specifically that, because I had brought this up a while ago. And then, like I said, things got hot. And I said, hey, I would like to have, I think I called it a coffee. Maybe that was my mistake for calling it a coffee. In Orange Crest, a community meeting that Western puts together, and that got shut down. So as of right now, there is not, maybe we, no.
No, if there is an issue, say for instance, and I'll use Marietta as the example, if there is an issue that's going on and say the city council has it on their agenda, then yes, staff would go and do that as a response to whatever the city is requesting. The MSR is a perfect example because the city has been engaged in that. So we have been actively involved in that and participate in that with staff because it's a community thing, it's a multi-agency thing, so that's an issue. If you've got other issues, say for Harupa Community Services District, then really it's engagement with Harupa Community Services District, which staff has at that level. And Galliano, Don, Director Galliano, our previous director for this division, regularly attended those meetings and interfaced with those individuals over there to provide information and counsel and interaction with their staff, with their board, and to do all those. So there's nothing that keeps you from being able to do any of that engagement as well. Just like Director Rizvi is saying tonight, there's nothing that prevents Director Rizvi from going to Corona City Council and saying, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm here and to participate in that. There's nothing within our policy that prevents you as your representative for yourself to go and reach out to a community and make that be known. So there's nothing that prohibits you from doing
Your
that.
question was a little different. Did I understand it
Was.
differently? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
There is no mechanism in that if I did have my own coffee, I don't think there is, that I could say, can I get a staff member to come with me and answer questions? I don't think there is. I could be wrong.
There's none.
No, we don't have a policy that
That's what-
addresses
yeah,
that.
I think that's what
Yeah,
he's
the
asking.
way we would handle this in the past is there would be a request from a board member at a board meeting or at a committee meeting that said, I'd like to do this, and that's how we would handle it on a one-off basis.
Yeah. The last time I tried, it didn't work. So I don't know if there was a reason for that, but I ended up have just scratched Sheena because I was hoping I could have at least focus on this. And I'm okay with division town halls, or I'm okay. I mean, I think if we really look at the language in the, sorry, I left my tablet at home. If you look at the language that says staff requests the board of directors consider approving a framework whereby each director could, if they wish, create a water information group with their respective divisions, minus item 1. I think
And 2.
because it's broad enough, that gives us the ability for Mike to say, I want a town hall in Division 1 and, working on it. It gives me the opportunity to say, I just want a community group and I need one staff member or a staff report for this community group. It creates the chance for, I'm sorry, I called you Mike, Director Gardner, Director Rotten to say, hey, Norco's is upset, I would like to meet with them, can I request someone to come? I think that verbiage.
That would be 1 and 2, actually. I think it's a
1
good
and
point,
2,
Director
okay.
Ralph, you mentioned that.
Thank you. So 1 and 2, but I think that gives us that leniency so that when we feel our community wants a little more of us and Western, we can provide it. I could be wrong, and of course I welcome questions or.
Well, I think the real question comes down to, and the reason that it's here at this point is because the board has to authorize the use of district resources, right?
So it's that staff member.
And it comes, well, but it's not just a staff member, it's the building, it's having security if it's after hours, it's posting the agendas, it's putting together things.
But it does give us the leniency in that it doesn't have to be at the building, right? That I think that verbiage gives us leniency to have it at Arcade Coffee, or have it here, but it establishes a framework. I think it establishes a framework where we are able, in our discretion, to do it in our own division, whether they're more town halls or whatever. And I'm trying to kind of meet Director Broughton and Director Gardner in the middle, because I feel like Director Broughton understands my concern from the community, and you understand my love for more outreach. So our love, right? We all feel the same. So I want to see if that, I mean, is that amendable, or would the words town hall be more useful for this motion?
Yeah, Director Torres, if I could, Director Torres, if I could finish what I was saying. I think really what it comes down to, and one of the questions, or one of the kind of the tilt for me on this is that, you know, it takes authority from the board to utilize district resources, which are not just staff, it's the building, it's potentially a couple of other things, and doing staff time, and not being, if it's not being utilized evenly, then you're issuing resources for one particular area, for one particular issue, which doesn't have an overlying district benefit. Because I do this on my own. I don't need the support to be able to have to do and engage in this. So I would never utilize something like this for my area. I would just set it up myself.
And I think the verbiage would allow you to not do it also, right? And that's wonderful that you don't need to. And my division is different. I don't know how Corona and you know, those areas are, but.
I would like to have as she's, Director Rotten said, a mechanism of, if we decide to have a staff present, help us, you know, let's say a town hall, I'm having a town hall, and if I ask, you know, staff support, just because I do not have the information on the projects, what's going on, that I would like, you know, an expert to do that, that would be something that having a mechanism or something is fine with me.
And maybe there should be, something could be created where we can make a request for that, whatever the process is, to ask for a particular request, for a particular part of our divisions, for even the information about what the meeting would be, what the time commitment would be, and, you know, I don't know if that needs to come to the board for approval.
I think that's
each
what
time.
No, I think that's honestly, I just think it's a good idea. I think this item, and I could be wrong, Mr. Frey, would allow it so that not every single time one of us requests something, it needs to come to the board. Am I wrong?
Right. This would be simply board approval to establish a framework for this water information group meeting, and without any membership or establishment of members or anything of that nature. The rest of the staff report just says how they can take place if you want to have them.
And I think that would give, like I keep saying, leniency. I don't know what else to call it, but it gives us the ability to have this without you, Director Broughton, coming in every 6 months and saying, I need another one, right? Not to the board, obviously to staff. It just gives us a little bit more, just like, you know, we give discretion. There you go. We give discretion to the general manager on a lot of certain things so that he doesn't have to always come back and ask again and ask again. And this gives us that opportunity. And Jeff, if there is a language and a motion that I can make to kind of fill in, I think, things that I think are important to Director Gardner as well as Director Roughton and even Director Denstead. I think it's saying that it's their discretion. If you don't want to ever use it, that's fine. That's at your discretion, but.
Right, and if the concern is that one director would have one every month or something like that, I mean, would you be open to saying one per?
Yeah, maybe
year,
there is a
quarter?
limit, maybe no more than 4 a year, you know? And if you're noticing that you're having all 4, then okay, so maybe something's going on in your community. That had nothing to do with Western, I don't know. But
And if it's a matter
I think
of
that makes sense to
of
me.
after-hour security, one could take that out. Say we're not going to have after-hour security.
Or we won't have it in the building
Right.
after hours. So if it is after hours, it would need to be hosted
Somewhere
somewhere
else.
differently. If that's actually a concern. I don't want to expend more resources. But I know that that's not a reality. So however we can make more cuts, I think that's okay. I'm okay with not taking a stipend. I think if we wanted to, it probably can
Well-
happen, but I'm okay with not doing it. I don't take them for any of my community meetings that I attend, even those that are on the matrix, so.
No, and I don't think the stipend is the issue. I mean, I don't think that's the issue at all. I think it's just the district resources and trying to figure out what is a benefit, because just like what you said in terms of, you know, our objective and goals, certainly, and the vote that you did for the rate adjustment is to try to reduce our budget, not to, you know, do something to try to exceed the budget or to try to, not exceed the budget, to add to it unnecessarily, I guess.
Yeah, and the staff report did make it clear that there isn't very
So-
much additional outside of what's already budgeted. So I do want to make sure that we are clear on that, because I wanted to make sure that was the case.
No, but there are limited resources with staff. We're not having staff to work 24 hours a day either, so.
And if it will please you, we can make sure that we put on there, it cannot be a 24-hour meeting.
So,
Or
I was
one
being
director, or
facetious,
one
so.
staff member, or, I mean, you want to limit the number of staff members?
You know what, I don't know, for me, it could be a staff member or a staff report. If, I would like to hear, me personally, this is me, if I was holding a meeting, there would be 2 people I want there, and that is Sarah and Derek. That's who I would want at the meeting, because I think those 2, and maybe Kevin, because I think those 3 reports in committee are the best reports. That's the reason I show up, is to hear their reports. But if that's too many, that's fine. I'm also okay with them just giving me a report to read off if they can't attend. So like I said, I'm flexible, and I want to keep it flexible so that if it is a town hall that requires more staff members, it can happen that way too. But I'm, like I said, I don't, you know, I don't want it to be so prescriptive that when Director Gardner has 300 people come to his town hall, and just, you know, the general manager, it becomes unattainable. So I also don't want to do that, but the vision I have for mine is clearly different than the way Director Denstead sees it, the way Director Roughton, which is why I continue harping on discretion.
And I think we're just kind of getting repetitive at this point. If you have a motion that you want to make, I think you just go ahead and make the motion and see what the support is that you have. So I think kind of we've put everything out there and have said it multiple times. So.
Absolutely. Just before any other questions, anything else, and I'm going to ask legal counsel if you can read the motion, and I'll just move.
Well, from my notes, a motion would be that the board approve a framework whereby each director could, if they wish, conduct a water information meeting within their respective divisions, as outlined in the staff report, excluding items 1 and 2, and no more than 4 per year within any division.
So move.
I'll second it.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you call for the vote, please?
Thank you. Director Roten?
No.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
No.
Director Torres?
Yes.
Director Denstead?
No.
The motion fails 2-3.
Okay. Thank you very much, folks. Because it's 11:30, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a 5-minute break. Are we good with that, folks, to take a 5-minute break for a quick?
Yeah. Just a real quick comment on this discussion before we take the break.
Yes.
I do think it's important that both Director Roughton and Director Rizvi were talking about whether there is an existing process where any director can say, I think it's important that we do a meeting on this subject in that location. And I think it's pretty clear that that exists. It may not have worked in every instance where a director wanted to do something, but we have that process, and I would urge all of us to utilize it when we think it's necessary and helpful.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that, Director Gardner. And I also wanted to make one comment, and I will do this before we go ahead and move on to the quick break. Myself in particular, I am here to assist my fellow directors, my colleagues on this board. If there is any meeting or any subject matter or anything that I can attend with you to assist you, I am happy to offer that service for you and provide that assistance to you if you so choose. Just give me more than a little bit of a heads up so that I can adjust a schedule or do whatever, but I'm happy to attend any function, meeting, community meetings with you to help with any background history or anything that I might be able to provide as support and your colleague on this board. So I just want to make that very clear. I'm happy to do that for any of you, okay?
Yeah, and I would just say that so that this doesn't have to come back to the board again, if a director such as yourself or anyone else on the board wanted to have a Water 411 within their division, that request would go to staff.
Yes. It doesn't
And they
come
could
to the
conduct
board.
it.
And we do those. Yeah, we do those, and I'm sure we're starting to do that. But
This would only come to the board,
Yes.
excuse me, because there was some expenditure of funds, at least to say it
Yes.
was being established. But if that's not going to be established, I think Director Gardner's question is, if there's currently a process in place whereby a director can ask for a Water 411 within their division, that can be done. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page there, so we don't have to come back and have another motion for something else in the future.
I think it's clear that a director can request either a Water 411 or, some other form. I think Director Denstead had a fair amount of input into how the communication campaign on the North Well was put together and rolled out, and helped advise our staff on, here's what I think the community is really interested in, wants to hear about. And I believe that Director Torres will be doing that for Cannon Pump Station as we put that one together. And it was already said that Director Stockton was very active in putting together the communication plan for a pipeline. So, that I think that exists. I don't think we need to create anything new to do that.
sorry, I turned my mic off. It's 11:28. If we could take a 5-minute break and come back by 11:33. Are we good? Am my math right? Okay, great. Thank you. You ready, Spencer? Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate your indulgence on allowing us to take a very brief break. At this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order and ask for the board secretary to take roll on the attendance of the board members, please.
Great, thank you. Director Roten?
Here.
Director Rizvi?
Here.
Director Gardner?
Here.
Director Torres? I did hear Director Torres. President Denstedt?
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and move on to 7D, as in David, on our agenda. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. Item 7D is consider entering into a memorandum of understanding with the Jewish Vocational and Career Counseling Service to provide partial funding for intern wages. This has been discussed just this Monday. It went to committee at EOWR. Mr. Barr is going to give us an update and some background on the issue.
All right, thank you very much. In March of 2021, the board authorized the general manager to execute a signatory agreement to participate in the early effort to form a career development program now known as IE Works. At that time, I stated that 30% of Western's workforce will be eligible for retirement within 5 years. Since March, we have had no less than 5% retire or announce their intent to retire. Western staff, in an interest to build up the talent pool for future jobs, has constructed a brief trial internship program. Staff would like to invite 3 qualified individuals to participate in a 12-week internship within Western's operations department. Selected interns would be invited to spend 4 weeks learning on the job with each of the following specialized fields: wastewater treatment, production distribution, and water quality. Through the short-term program, we believe that students will gain a new appreciation for the services Western provides, a better understanding of the water and wastewater field, and be better prepared for careers in the industry. From my perspective, the goals of the new IE Works internship program aligns with Western staff goals. The goal of the program is to increase the interest in these valuable jobs so that we have a recruitment pool of talented individuals from which to draw as our own existing workforce retires and or promotes up into the higher positions. The benefit to Western and the water and wastewater industry is to increase the awareness of important jobs in our community with good pay, good benefits, and great intrinsic rewards, the reward of serving our community being the highest of those rewards. We've had multiple conversations about IE Works in recent months. The IE Works fledgling program has no money, no employees, and no bylaws at this time. IE Works is currently a collection of staff and board members from a few agencies in the Inland Empire: West Valley Water District, San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District, Inland Empire Utility Agency, Rancho California Water District, and Western Municipal Water District. We're all working to solidify multiple partnerships in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Partnerships between agencies with workforce needs, schools working to move individuals into careers, and students looking for meaningful work. The IE Works effort is intended to replicate a successful program in Northern California called BayWork, including its partnership with Jewish Vocational Career Counseling Service, a non-sectarian, nonprofit corporation based in San Francisco. Merriam-Webster Online defines non-sectarian as non-affiliated with or restricted or not restricted to a particular religious group. BayWork is used only as a successful example from which the IE Works group would like to learn. BayWork is a 43-member consortium of water and wastewater agencies focused on workforce reliability in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. JVS and BayWork are separate organizations with separate governance structures, and the relationship is that of partners. JVS is a leader in workforce development across the Bay Area, providing sector-specific training to job seekers, leading to jobs in healthcare, technology, and public utility industries. JVS and BayWork have partnered to obtain funding from federal and state sources, as well as private foundations, to support research and job training efforts, including apprenticeship, paid internships, and pre-apprenticeship programs. JVS is governed by a board of directors with 24 members, as well as a staff leadership structure. Over the past 45 years, JVS has helped over 100,000 people build in-demand skills, and make connections to find jobs in the Bay Area. Baywork is governed by a board of directors with 12 members, including its president, Robert Scott from Valley Water, also known as Santa Clara Valley Water District. Baywork is currently a California nonprofit corporation and has applied to the IRS for 501c3 nonprofit status. Baywork's primary source of funding is from fees paid by signatory agencies. The effort of IE Works is intended to replicate Baywork. There is no formal relationship between Baywork and IE Works. Staff today is requesting that the Board of Directors authorize the General Manager to execute a memorandum of understanding between Western Municipal Water District and the Jewish Vocational Career Counseling Services to provide approximately $5,000 in funding for Western Municipal Water District's internship program. The MOU with JVS is because JVS has the money. The grant proceeds are through JVS. Execution of the attached draft MOU will provide access to pre-qualified candidates for interviews and grant funding for 33% of the intern's wages, estimated to be a total of about $1,700 per intern for 12 weeks. Execution of the proposed MOU is solely to establish an avenue to partially fund part-time temporary interns that may be employed for a 12-week period here at Western. To be selected, participants in the internship program, to be selected by the IE Works manager, participants in the internship program must be of 18 years of age or older, be authorized to work in the U.S., hold a valid California driver's license, have access to a vehicle and be willing to drive to the location, be enrolled in a local community college trades classes, have a GED or high school diploma, have an interest in the water or public agency sector, show proof of selective service. It's a federal funding requirement. There is no religious affiliate requirement to be an intern in the IE Works program or Western's program. Participation in the internship program does not in any way guarantee a job at Western upon completion of that internship now or in the future. The MOU being considered does not commit Western, the board, or staff to anything beyond the requirements associated with the funding of internship positions. It does not establish any other relationship with the Jewish Vocational and Career Counseling Service. The MOU is a two-party document with JVS only and does not include any of the other entities that are working to form the IE Works group. The MOU attached to the staff letter is in draft form. It does show the structure of the agreement. Prior to execution, we will have legal counsel review that before it is executed. At this time, staff requests that the board consider allowing the general manager to execute this agreement. Elizabeth Toops with JVS, Jewish Vocational and Career Counseling Service, and Scott Goodell are also on the Zoom right now to answer any questions, and I would be happy to do the same.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Tim,
you, Mr. Barr.
We're ready to take any questions.
Okay, let's first, before I forget again, go to public comment. Good Lord.
By the way, we didn't necessarily forget. We had people jumping in as we went, so
yes,
we were accommodating them.
But if I don't make the call and ask up front, then I end up going down the road. So let's try to
Good idea.
Stay consistent here. All right. Madam Secretary, if we could call for public comment on the Zoom, please.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to see if there are any members of the public who wish to speak. You may raise your hand. If there's anybody on the phone, you may also hit *9 to raise your hand or *6 to unmute yourself. I see Daphne. You may go ahead.
Hello. I just want to say that after reading through the documents, I do believe that this is a very worthwhile program and beneficial to both Western and to the future interns who will be participating. I do have one comment that is beyond the purview of the current request for the MOU between Western and JVS, and I'm just going to go ahead and make the comment. But it appears that IE Works is in the very early formation stages, that it's not really a formal organization. And I hope that as it becomes a more formal organization, if it's a decision that the decision is made for them to work with, continue to work with JVS, that there's some type of formal agreement between the two so that both know what their responsibilities are. And I hope as IE Works becomes a more formal organization that and makes decisions on how it will function and how it will be governed, that there isn't any conflict or perceived conflict of interest between Western and its employees, its board, with anyone who might be appointed to the future governing board of IE Works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else?
I see no others requesting to speak at this time.
Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and extend the courtesies to the two individuals who are here from Jewish Vocational Services, Mr. Goodell and Ms. Toops, thank you. If either one of you folks would have a comment or would like to speak on this item, we certainly are welcoming those at this time.
This is Elizabeth Toops and from JVS, and I just actually Mr. Barr summarized the details quite nicely, and I would just thank Western for your participation in IE Works and for your interest in hosting interns. These internships are really a critical sort of part of the technical training that students are getting in our local community colleges, and without agencies like Western hosting these students and providing that real world on-the-job training, their community college training is lacking. So thank you for providing that valuable training.
Thank you very much. And did Mr. Goodell want to make any comment?
I can't see the Zoom here.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just echo what Elizabeth said. We really value that Western is engaged in this work with us and is taking the time to really flesh out a quality program. All the staff has been very engaged and very working with us to build a program, and we will be, evaluating this first cohort in hopes that we can do it again. And again, want to thank everyone for their support.
Thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate you being here today and being available. I'm sure both of them are available to answer those questions should they, as we proceed forward here. I'm going to go ahead at this time because that's staff's report, correct? Are we done?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. I'm going to go ahead at this time and ask Director Torres if you'd like to discuss your involvement with this group and give us any type of overview and how this is played out for the sake of the discussion.
Yeah, I would love to say that JVS has done a wonderful job. MBA Works have done a very, very wonderful job assisting. I think it was West Valley who put themselves on the line when they applied for these grants. Both Elizabeth and Scott are working diligently to recruit interns, and I'm happy that we have positions for them. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions from members of the board? No questions, Mr. Carter? Okay. Director Risby?
No, I'm good.
So move.
Director Roughton?
I don't have a question, but if I could just make a comment that I appreciated all the discussion about this at the committee meeting this week. It really helped me to kind of understand what had come before and where it was going, and I'm very happy to support it.
Okay, thank you very much. I did have just a couple of questions that were pending from the meeting, and it just simply involves, because I think this is
I don't know the process, but I did make a motion. I don't know if
I
you...
apologize, I didn't hear that.
Didn't hear.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I
I
thought
did-
I saw you all shake your head with no questions, but I did make the motion. And I will continue to make.
Apologize, I didn't hear
No,
that,
it's
so.
okay. I just, I know that there's
I
a
don't think anybody
process.
else did.
Apparently, I was too low with it, but I did make a motion, so I just don't want to be outside
No,
the process.
and I'm happy to recognize your motion.
Okay.
If I can go ahead and make just a couple of comments, because I wanted to get some questions. We recognize there is a motion on the floor, and I'll call for a second in just a second. And just let me ask my couple of clarifying points and questions so I can understand. I do think that this is something that's very need that our industry is experiencing. The amount of involvement and the participation and people that are interested in our industry and coming to work for our organization, I think that's certainly a wonderful thing to get out there and let them know that this is not just a job, this is a career. And this is something that can benefit them, take an important role in the community that we serve, and certainly provide for their families when they get into this, because this is, this is not it's not just a job. It's not just something that they're going to get paid minimum wage on when they come to work in this industry. It's going to be a fulfilling career. So I just want to make sure that I understand a couple of things and some questions that have been asked of me that I wasn't quite capable of answering. So I just want to make sure that I clarify those points and understand the relationship values that we have going on here, because my understanding is that while JVS is the acceptor of the grant funds because of their current status of incorporation and their 501c3 status, I believe, that they are the ones that are maintaining and operating, fulfilling the grant requirements when this money has been forwarded from state, federal on the education component. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so it is the, I believe it's the intent, I don't know if that would be the correct word, I believe it's the intent to have what is being formed as IE Works to then sever that tie and allow JVS to be its separate entity and allow, once IE Works is in place, to become the organization which those funds would be sought and to run the program through that formation. Am I understanding that correctly?
I believe that's the intent of the work group that is putting it together. If you use Bayworks as the example, there's still a partnership between JVS and Bayworks. There would likely, I would imagine, be a partnership between JVS and IE Works should IE Works stand up on its own.
But I'm sorry, Mr. Barr, that would be for future grant funds and future
Correct.
projects. It's
Yes.
not a
Right.
matter of this being approved
Absolutely.
and being funneled
Not-
to IE Works.
Right, not the one for now, but that's what the intent is, to try to stand this program up to be able to ultimately receive.
Yes, I believe
At least
that is-
apply
that-
for and- okay.
That is the goal.
Okay.
To emulate Bayworks.
But
Right.
not the board's goal.
No.
No.
But no. And I just want to make sure I understand what the relationship values are here, because, what we're doing here, I hope, is building a strong foundation. So I just want to understand the function of the foundation as we move forward to just understand the relationships, because it's kind of gone around and around. So Bayworks is simply being used as the model of which JVS used to then try to stand up IE Works. Do I have that correctly?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Okay. Are the grant funds being paid? I understand the grant funds are being used to support the program for the interns, to receive the training, for reimbursement for the agency, and partner as far as making that dollar amount, whatever the increment is, how that's going to happen, correct?
If the board allows execution of the MOU, the intent is to complete the 12 weeks and then send a bill to JVS for reimbursement of 1/3 of their wages.
Okay. So is the grant also paying for staff to try to stand up IE Works?
I'd have to defer to Elizabeth Toops or Scott Goodell, but I believe Scott Goodell is paid out of the grant proceeds.
That's correct. So the IE Works, the staffing of IE Works is funded by the grant through, and in addition is also funding other kinds of training activities as well.
Okay. And as far as the interns, I want to make sure, so they have to actually be part of the colleges or the training program at some institution, or is it that they can just simply, they don't have to be a part of any program and they can just apply to be an intern through this opportunity?
The statement that I read about qualification was provided by Elizabeth Toops, so they do need to be part of a program, a school program.
Okay, so they,
Community college program.
as a currently enrolled student then?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I wasn't entirely clear about that. And then, so I want to clarify a comment because I thought I heard something different, but maybe maybe I didn't. So the selection of the interns within the program, did you say that the manager of the program currently is the one that enters them into the program, and then the agencies get to select out of that pool of interviews for interns? I just want to...
Correct. Scott Goodell selected the interns and provided a list of interns that Western's HR department contacted, and Western's team conducted interviews of potential applicants, potential candidates.
Okay. Okay. And then legal counsel, I just had a couple of questions in regards to Western's relationship in moving forward into this program. As far as an intern is concerned coming into the program and then being selected to be an intern specifically here for Western, would they then fall under our liability while they're on the job and be supported by us and our insurance for workers' compensation and those types of things that the agency would assume for them as an intern coming in?
Well, the insurance and liability coverage for these interns would be the same as for any other intern. So, and Mr. Barr can speak to that, but yeah, I think they are covered by our regular insurance, but so would any other intern.
Yeah, they would be considered a part-time temporary employee of Western Municipal Water District.
Which Western does on a regular basis.
Correct.
Right. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't some other clause someplace and how that's being handled.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a very good point. This is simply a means by which to get grant funding for a third of the cost of these interns. That's all that the board's being asked to approve.
Right. Okay. And as far as this program hopefully standing up with IE Works, they're currently in the formation of IE Works to stand that up. And you said they're trying to form a 501c3. Did I hear that correctly?
The intent is to form a nonprofit under IRS guidelines, a 501c3 status. That is correct.
And I would just mention that anything dealing with IE Works as a nonprofit or a nonprofit to be formed or not formed, or for Western to be involved or not involved, is really not this agenda item. So I wouldn't want to prejudice any discussion in the future, if there's going to be one, about IE Works. This is the receipt of funds through JVS that they receive from state and federal funding. So I wouldn't want to get into a discussion or have the board get into a discussion here about whether or not you're in favor of forming a nonprofit that has nothing to do with the funds that are being requested today.
Okay. No, I understand that. I just want to make sure that, like I said, I think this is a wonderful program, and I just want to understand the relationships going on and what this is hopefully building blocks, and we're going to be successful in creating a strong foundation as this tries to proceed forward. So I'm just trying to understand the relationships of how this looks, trying to map this thing out, and that we're not just going to have a one-time thing drop into something that doesn't come to fruition. So that's what I'm trying to understand, relationship part of it.
Yeah, but I don't think staff would want to bind the board to anything other than what's in front of you. So whether or not it's part of a process or not is not binding the board to endorse or not endorse that today. That's why we only have this particular item.
And from my understanding, it's only 12 weeks, so it is a one-time thing. Right. What we're voting on today, am I wrong?
Oh, I thought I read that we could do this up to 3 times
If we
for
come
the
back to
year.
the board and ask, we'll do it up to 3 times a year. That is a condition that Western put on this so that we have the staff to manage the interns that may come through. But for now, this is only a 12-week MOU.
Oh, okay. Now I'm understanding.
I need to rephrase that. The MOU will go through the end of the year so that we have time to actually request reimbursement and get paid, but the internship is 12 weeks long, and that's it. One internship for 3 people, 12 weeks long.
And say it was successful, you'd come back again and ask us again.
Would ask the board to do something different, yes.
Or funding from some other source, or interns from some other source.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Ferre, for legal counsel, did you review the MOU agreement that would be entered into, and does it check all the boxes for
Yes.
Western and its participation in the program?
Absolutely.
Okay. That is my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, there was a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Oops, I will second.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments, or questions? Okay. We'll go ahead and, Madam Secretary, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Risby?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
I'm going to vote yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to reports. That concludes our action agenda, folks. For today, we're moving on to reports on Section 8 of our agenda for staff reports from General Counsel, Mr. Ferre.
And I can certainly read the room, so with the passage of time, I will pass today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferre. Wise counsel, you are. Okay, moving on to the General Manager, Mr. Miller.
All right, the first one is our coronavirus update. You already heard Kevin Mascaro talk about the arrearages. They're up near $800,000. We've had no new cases of coronavirus internally, so that's really good news. And we continue to monitor any OSHA or California Public Health guidelines, so there haven't been any changes recently, but as you know, we're actually meeting every 2 weeks now as a business continuity team to make sure that we monitor that, and our safety officer is monitoring it all day long, every day. So a lot going on coronavirus. Next item, the LAFCO Murrieta MSR. We did have a public meeting last Thursday evening for the public to provide comments. They did that. The participating agencies all made very brief comments about it, so we did take public comment. The next step will be for the LAFCO Commission to receive and file that, if they so choose, on December 23rd. The final thing I wanted to report is a good news story. This board passes and adopts a lot of resolutions in support of grant applications, and I just wanted to report that we got one of them. So Melissa and Michael Hadley do a lot of hard work to find these grants for us and bring them forward. So this is a Bureau of Rec grant for the program is for grants between $5,000 and $75,000. So we applied for and received $70,000, so near the top of the bracket. The grant is for condition assessment, asset condition assessment, enhanced security, and things like that. So staff's hard at work trying to find money to help offset the cost of these projects for our customers. So very happy to report that back to the board. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. Always great to get other people's money to support projects and things that we're working on. So thank you very much for that, and kudos to staff for getting that funding to the district. And just for the sake of newer board members, Western is extremely successful in getting grant money and through programs and things that we've applied for through Metropolitan and everything else. So as far as case point in history, for a number of years, Western has been one of the lead agencies out in the Inland Empire to receive these funds, and one of the lead agencies out of Metropolitan to get these, be very successful at receiving grant funding to offset costs for our customers. So thank you for your efforts, folks. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to directors' reports and requests. SAPA Commissioner, Director Gardner.
We have not had a meeting since I last reported.
Thank you very much. Metropolitan is also in the same boat. We will meet here in a couple of weeks. Chino Basin.
The Chino Basin Water Master was supposed to be dark during August, but there was a ongoing disagreement on scope and funding for a court-mandated update of the safe yield from the basin calculation. The advisory committee met and reached an agreement on the majority of the funding. So it is moving forward. The Water Master Board itself did not meet during the month. It was potentially going to have to meet if the advisory committee could not reach some sort of accommodation and consider litigation. And so fortunately that was avoided, and things are actually moving along, and they're kind of holding hands for the moment anyway.
Thank you very much for that report. CDA. Director Torres.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. RICRA.
We haven't had a meeting since I last reported. Same for Surah.
Thank you very much. And WRCOG is also the same. That meeting's being moved because of the holiday coming up. So director's comments. So go ahead and start. Director Rizvi, any comments?
No comments. Just wanna have Laura welcome here. It's nice to have somebody sitting next to and look up to. So I'm really excited to work with you, and welcome to our board. And I look forward to learning a lot from where you're coming from. So I'm really excited for you to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Director Outen, any comments?
Well, thank you for that. Welcome. And I just wanted to share that I'm happy to be here for this first official board meeting for me. I have felt very welcomed here by everyone, and it's much appreciated. It's just a very warm feeling that I have with all of you and with the public that has reached out to me as well, and I just appreciate it. This was an interesting road to get here, and I'm going to do my best to, I can never fill the shoes of Director Galliano, but hope to try to walk in his footsteps in the ways that I can, and miss him very much. When I came in here, when I got sworn in, and I forget if it was you, Director Isby, but someone said, here's where you sit, and I kind of almost choked up for a second because, I've seen him up here. And so I know he's very much missed. He was ingrained in the fabric of the communities and this district and water and ag and all of that. So anyway, just thank you for your welcome and for accepting me in. And I just look forward to learning all kinds of new things. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Director Torres.
Thank you. I also want to welcome, I haven't had the chance, I've been ill, so I didn't get a chance to see you after the appointment, and congratulations and welcome. This is historic. We are a 4-member women-led board, and that's amazing. I'm sure we cannot find that anywhere else, at least in the Empire, or in Southern California. So good for you, I guess. But no, that's wonderful. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for enduring the process you were put through. That shows your commitment, and I'm excited to have you here and work with you. So hopefully we can sit down soon. And then just a couple of things. The first one being that I want to send my love and condolences to all the families who lost somebody in Afghanistan last week. And I hope that we can adjourn the meeting in their memory. But we also have 9/11, which is coming up while we're gone, and so I wanted to take a moment to remember all the people who lost a lot through that process, both from the plane crash as well as the aftermath and the harm that was done afterwards to different communities. And lastly, I mean, this is a little bit of good news. I was selected, I guess, to be by the Press Enterprise to highlight a scholarship that I gave at the end of last school year to six students in my division. And so it was kind of cool. So check it out. It came out this morning on the Press Enterprise, and it's something that I'm proud to do. I've been saving my stipend that we get monthly, and was able to turn that into something useful, I hope. But that's it. That's my report.
Thank you. Director Gardner. Mike's off.
Yeah, that's me. I too would like to welcome Director Roughton. We're very glad to have you here. I do recognize how grueling the process to get you here was, and really congratulate you on maintaining your composure. That can't have been an easy thing to do. As Director Torres pointed out, we are becoming an increasingly diverse board, 4 women and 1 old white guy. But the 4 women are unique in themselves. We have 2 Latinas, we have an immigrant, and this is really a board, I think, that represents amongst its membership the communities that we serve. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and make some comments as well. Again, Director Roughton, welcome. We're happy that you're here to join us and be a part of our new water community. You will find that this isn't just a water district agency, government entity. This is actually family. It's been my family for a very long time. I also wanted to take a moment and say thank you to staff, General Manager, Mr. Miller, for your presentation at the Marietta MSR. I think it was very well received by the public. It was well attended. There were a very large number of people on the hybrid model as far as the Zoom. There were a lot of people in the chamber at that meeting, and it was really great to see the partnership that's developing. I appreciate my colleagues that showed up in person to see and witness that. It was definitely a very different dynamic at that meeting, and I got pulled away and talked to by a lot of people. So I think it's really great that we show the community as water agencies the level of cooperation, collaboration, and effort we put into trying to take care of their needs and meet them every single day. And I think that was a really good showing down there of that. And so I just wanted to thank you ladies for joining me down there, because sometimes it's not easy and we're never quite sure what the results are going to be. I also wanted to take a second and say happy birthday to my colleague who will be celebrating her birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to say happy Labor Day to everyone. So I hope you enjoy the holiday that's coming up here and reflect upon what the meaning of that holiday is and enjoy that and hopefully have some downtime with your families. And I hope staff gets the much needed rest and retreat and relaxation with the 3-day weekend hopefully coming up. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to requests for future agenda items. Is there any member of the board wishing to request a future agenda item? Okay.
I do have just a suggestion, and not urgent. As we were having our discussion today, I think it was 7C, and a lot of the ways were mentioned about how Western does its outreach. I thought it might be helpful if there was, I don't know if it needs to be an agenda item or just a list of what all of those different ways were, and maybe what we have done in the past and what we hope to do in the future. And the reason why I'm saying an agenda item specifically is because then it will be out there for the public to see the different avenues that we are utilizing. So I just thought it might be helpful and something positive to share with everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and request a couple of items to be placed for discussion and look forward to hearing your input from the board. Several years ago, we were involved with and took a tour that was set up with Toro. And it was in direct relationship to a sprinkler rebate program that we were getting some money from Met. We offsetted with some additional Western money. And we actually, Mr. Barr was out there. We did an event that replaced, I believe it was up in...
It's up in Orange Crest.
It was in Orange
the
Crest.
Mission Ranch HOA.
Yes, it was. And we had a big event up there where Toro came out and helped change out a bunch of sprinkler nozzles, and Western staff were there, and it was a big, huge event in that Orange Crest area. So I'd like to have some discussion, since we're rolling into drought, to talk about what we're doing with that rebate program, because we were supposed to do a second part of that program and go down to Marietta and hit one of the older neighborhoods that may be benefited by this. But I think we really need to commit to and show our customers how we're going to do this voluntary 15%. So I think it's really important that we have that discussion. And we partnered with Toro. Their tour of their facility was phenomenal. It was really phenomenal. They ask that you do not bring your cell phones in. They locked all of them up because it's proprietary information and they won't allow you to bring it in there to take pictures or anything else, and they tell you that. But it was really an interesting tour and a great partnership. So I'd love to have some discussion about what we're going to do and how we're going to do that. And then what are we doing to bring up our evaluations, our water evaluations, how we're going to try to start, because I know we've been doing a couple of those here and there as the need, but COVID kind of probably put some people off on doing that, and how are we going to roll those out? Because I think it's really important that we get back to those audits, given that we're, who knows what year of a drought we're getting into, and giving options to our customers to be able to have savings. And then third and lastly, and I'll go ahead and we'll move into a closed session. This was a format that was entertained many years ago on this board, and we regularly engaged in the workshop format. So I'd like to see that be brought back for discussion so that we can bring you guys up and give you some background and history and be topic specific so that you guys are all on the same page and we all know why we're at the place that we're at. And I know Director Risby has commented that she really appreciates some of the background and the history. I'm sure Director Routon, I believe you wanted that as well. And Director Gardner has mentioned it's helpful listening to some of the background. So if we could just go ahead and start working on those. And I think the first topic, if we can, and this is certainly with legal counsel's, how we can do this is to probably schedule the first one as a closed session to discuss all legal matters that we are involved in. so that we can make sure that everybody is on the same page and understands whatever issues that we have, and we can go into a very detailed discussion on those issues. And I'll let legal counsel figure out how to do that.
Okay.
So, as I'm not sure, legal counsel, is it have to be actually called as a special board meeting, or can that actually be called under a workshop title and go to a closed session?
Well, for the Brown Act, a workshop has the same requirements as a special meeting. So you could have a special meeting with open session, to go public comments, go straight into closed session, and we would list the pending litigation matters.
Okay, great. So I think that would be really helpful for everybody, and probably Director Torres as well, who has not perhaps gotten some in-depth discussion on how we got in stuff, because I know that there were some hot things that were happening that she got kind of dropped into that might still be lingering that we're dealing with. So I think that would be an appropriate starter. So.
And this would not have been something that Don would have wanted to do.
No. And duly noted. Duly noted, legal counsel, duly noted. So that is all that I have to request and put out there for that. We'll go ahead and move into closed session. We have legal counsel. Did you want to make an announcement for leading into closed session?
Absolutely, Madam President. We recommend going in closed session on items 10A and 10B on the existing litigation matters as so stated under 54956.9.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Director, we are ready to go.
Sorry. Thank you very much. We have returned from closed session. At this time, we're going to go ahead and ask Board Secretary to take a roll call for any participants that may be remaining and watching on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Here.
Director Rizvi?
Here.
Director Gardner?
Here.
Director Torres?
Here.
President Dinstead?
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and ask legal counsel to make an announcement out of closed session.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The board met in closed session on items 10A and 10B. On 10B, there was a very brief report to state that that matter has been resolved. On 10A, there was direction but no reportable action to legal counsel regarding the state of that case. That was the end of closed session.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I believe we had a request for an adjournment in honor of
The lives lost in Afghanistan last week.
Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.